Alright, welcome back to another video. It is Saturday, March 8th today. So, today we're going to be working on a robotic calf feeder here. There's a lot of different stuff we got to do to it. We have a box of parts here for various different things that we have to replace. But I want to build a little bit of like a puckboard wall on each side because we have been running into issues with the calves chewing on the electrical wires and then breaking the robotic calf feeder. So that is what I'm doing here. We got some puck board. Just gonna cut out all the little pieces we need and we'll kind of build a little bit of a wall. All right, this is what we're looking at. So piece of puck board up here, then one more on the side down here. So it was nice to reach around a little bit sometimes to help train calves to drink, but as the calves get a little bigger, unfortunately they'll reach over and they'll try and chew on some stuff. So we're picking kind of to put up a wall here. Otherwise they're gonna chew on stuff and we're gonna run into a problem again. So Dad is helping me with this today. He just ran over to Settler Supplies to pick up some more stuff for us, so that'll all be sorted. I'll pick up some brackets, some bolts, a couple screws depending what they have, and then we'll get it all put together. So I am going to start working on stuff on this robot now. Alright, so we're getting some of these parts out here. One of the things I picked up is a brand new handle. So this wire here, this purple one, was getting chewed on by the calves. Along with the handheld, we found that some of the buttons were no longer working properly, so we're going to replace it all. I had resoldered the wire and dealt with that, but it just seems like we're experiencing a couple different issues there, so I'm going to replace this. Alright, we're getting stuff apart here. It's hard for me to explain, but I got the back of the calf robot off. And I'm going to be replacing this wire here along with the handheld. So this wire, I crawl back in there. There's 6 different wires that run to the handheld, I believe. And they thread into 2 different spots in the calf robot. So one of them runs up top into here, and the other one runs down into here. So there and there. And I've taken a couple photos to remember how it all sits because there's a lot of wires back here, and I would not want to mess something up. But that is what we got going on to change out this. This is probably going to be one of the harder things to do. Some of the other stuff's relatively easy, but this is the electrical side of it. Electronics can be really fidgety if you can understand electrical and diagnose it. Good job for you, because that is probably the hardest part about fixing stuff. Making progress. I got this all rewired. Got 2 more wires to put back in up here, along with another little piece that goes in there, and then I'll be ready to turn it on and see if the handle works. Alright, you can see over here my dad got the puck board mounted. I cut it, he mounted it. So you can see it's bolted here, there, down there. It's looking really sturdy. We were hoping for an L bracket over here, but we didn't have one. But yeah, he looked after that. In the meantime, I have the handheld all wired back into this calf robot now. All of the buttons work. You can see that over here. We have one, I call it a code, left to fix, and that is involved in here. So there's 2 things left to fix. One of them is this arm. So where this green box mounts up there, we had one of these arms break. And we waited since December for that. Since around December 15, it had to come from Europe. So that shipped out and we got it. And then another small issue we had is in here. It's a little box, an identification box. I think it's hanging down here. The wires had pulled out of there. So we needed a new one of them. So we're looking after that. So that was the electronic air here, and then this was the kind of mechanical part of it. So we're looking after getting this back together, running the wires through here into this motherboard. Then we can get the hygiene box mounted back up on here. Then both sides will work again. I already have the boards cut, and we'll get them mounted once all this is back together. We got both sides back together of the robot now. I got this calf in here. It's her first time in the robot, so she's a little slow catching on, but she's doing really good. But yeah, we got all the puck boards set up, so hopefully we won't have any more issues with them chewing on stuff back here. But the feeder's working well. I have not had any issues other than there's a couple leaky lines that we just had to shorten and fix, but other than that, we're doing well. So I'm out here in the barn doing night check now, pushing calves through again. It's only been about 2 hours, so they really aren't that hungry, but I want to keep showing them it, because the more we push them through, the faster they catch on. And once they catch on, then we don't have to push them through anymore. Alright, it is Monday, March 10 now. So initially this afternoon our calf robot was going to get serviced and I was going to help with that. But the guy that was going to help me work on it is unfortunately sick today, so he could not come. But that is fine because I have enough other stuff to do. So I'm in the barn now just fixing little odds and ends of stuff. So on Friday night, my youngest sister's getting married. So we're having someone else come in to milk the cows. So there's all of these little things that you just kind of live with. That have a little trick to them to make them work, and then you don't fix. But when you have someone else coming to do chores, you like to fix all that stuff. So that's what I'm doing today. So I already fixed the milking machine this afternoon. And now, over here by Adidas and Addison, you can see that there's this stall here that it's taped up. So this is an outlet and it has power running to it. These wires push into here, and then these wires have been not staying together, so we got it taped up, and you can wiggle it to keep it working, but I'd rather it just work normally. So I'm gonna take it apart, tape it all up like how it should be, and then it'll work fine. And there you go. Camera doesn't want to pick up that the machine's running just because when you see something like this, that means the frames per rate of the camera are higher than, I guess, the display reads. If you zoom in and get lower quality, you can see how it'll stay on, or it'll flicker less. See? It's kind of neat. Anyway, there you go. It's all taped up. We find that tape works the best for stuff like this, just because it is cheap and simple. I could spend the extra money and buy the connectors, but they also wear out and they really don't seem to last a whole lot longer. So the tape is just quick, easy to work with, and cheap. Alright, so we are pushing calves through the feeder for the night. There's only 2 of them here. You can see they're waiting. But when I got to the feeder, after I was done feeding cows, I noticed that it had a little air up. You can see there's a couple of them, but leaking circuit clean, circulation pump. And what the leaking one is you can see there's now a hole in one of the lines. This one's also leaking. So they weren't chewed on to get holes in them this time. Maybe previously they were chewed on, but just wear and tear. So I'm just gonna put new lines on instead of cutting them shorter again because it keeps happening. So over here I got our bag of spare parts and line, so I'm just gonna cut new line for the milk. You can see we got quite a bit to spare, so we can always cut it a little shorter again if needed. There we go. There you go. You can see the milk flowing through. I'll just have to replace the other side real quick, but this side is working well again. Got the other line fixed as well, so we're all good and done there. Alright, it is now Thursday, so the calf robot got serviced today. So Curtis from Foster Tech came and he updated the software on the calf robot, and then he showed me how to rebuild the valves underneath there, so I rebuilt them. I'll put a photo on the screen of what it looked like. So yeah, I rebuilt those valves. I had a little bit of an issue, so I ended up calling him after he left and he walked me through that and I got it going. But the calf robot is just washing right now, so it's just finishing up a wash, but that's what we got going on there. So we were on version 4.0 before at this calf robot. Now we're on 5.3. The big changes, I guess, are now it cleans a little bit differently. It accounts for the length of the line while it's cleaning with the hygiene boxes. And then what I've changed since I last put down the camera is I have wire loomed all of these cables now. We ran into some issues with the cats, of all things. At least that's what we're pretty sure. They were chewing on it because calves can't reach it. They're chewing on the milk lines to get the milk. So I don't really know why they did that. They have free choice milk anytime they want, but I guess if they run out, maybe they come here and chew on the lines to get the milk. But put wire loom everywhere, so that'll solve that problem. So yeah, really happy with how things are looking on this calf robot now. Should be working really well. But that is all I have for this video. I'm glad we got our calf robot working again. It took a little bit to get everything lined up to get it working well, but here we are, it's all done. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed.